All right, let's do the final step of our project. To recap the previous steps, our goal is getting an ID number and looking up someone from this data. That someone is a student who has name, grade, ID, parent name, and parent email. These are fake names, but they're realistic, so the parent usually shares a last name with the kid, and the email is usually based on the name, but sometimes it's just random words and numbers. Now, last time we opened the file, read the data, and put it in a nice labeled object. So instead of line bracket 3 to get something at an index, you can say student.last to get the last name, or parent.email to get the email. And the whole point of that is we have a little bit of ugliness right here. I know it's strange to give all these temporary names. I know this is a big blob of initializing, but once that function returns, we can forget about it. We don't have to worry where the data came from, what order it was in, or anything like that. It's just a nice Python dictionary of Python objects. And when you run the program, you get, let's do an example, 641012. When you run the program, you get this nice object with all of its properties. Okay, and now, today, in the final step, we're going to use those properties. Our idea is based on what we're going to do in real life, which is to send emails home. In real life, we're going to collect Chromebooks, and then if someone doesn't have a Chromebook, we're going to send an email that says, hey, make sure you turn it in. So let's say I'm going to make a function, and I don't have a cool name. I'm just going to call it generate message. I might think of a better name later, but I do want it to be a little bit vague, because even though I'm thinking of an email, it doesn't have to be an email. It could be a script for a voice call. It could be a text. It could be a private message on the gradebook, or whatever we use in the future. So let's just say message, keep it open-ended. And what does it need to know? What does it take? Well, it takes a student. We've just defined what a student is, and now any function can take in one of these or produce one of these, and everyone agrees on what it is. A student is a thing that has a first, last, grade, ID, and parent. What's a parent? Well, it has a first, last, and email. So I don't have to worry about, oh, let's make a list of specific items in a specific order. Nope, it's a student. We've defined that, and we all agree on what it is. This is okay in a small project. Anything would be okay in a small project, but if you imagine a bigger thing with multiple files and multiple teams working on it, you'd really want to agree on what the data is. So anyway, let's say I'm going to put it in a string, so anybody who gets this string can do whatever they want. Email, call, give it to someone for handwriting, who knows. Okay, so it's going to return a string with what? Well, let's just say I want to start off really simple, test it out, and then we'll add more. So let's say, dear parents of student.first, student.last. And that's it. We'll add more later. We'll make a real script, but let's test it out. So if we found the person, let's throw in a line to use it. Instead of looking up twice, I'm just going to extract that and say student equals lookup, so that I can use student multiple times if I wanted to. However, I'm just going to use it once right now. Let's just say generate message of that person. So right now I'm going to try 641012, and it should say parents of Robin Schmidt. Okay. Yep. What did I do wrong? I have the classic Python thing. It happens all the time. I had people ask me about this last week. What's going on when you have a syntax error but the line is completely fine, right? This line has no problem at all. It's 100% right, but it says syntax error, and that's always because the previous line didn't clean up after itself. It didn't close the brackets, it didn't close the parentheses, or didn't finish its job. So I need to close the parentheses around the print, and now the else will be free to do its thing. Let's see, 641012. Hey, look at that. Dear parents of Robin Schmidt. And even though it didn't display the rest of the info, like the ID and the parent email and whatever, it has it. It has loaded that student into memory, which it already was, but the name student now points to it. So if I ever say student dot whatever, or if I pass it to this function and this function says student dot whatever, then they can look up whatever they want. They could also change it, but I don't want them to. I don't want to send it to a function and have them change it, and now when I'm back out of the function, I've got a new situation. I want them to just make their own thing based on what they got. So let's do a tiny bit more using this student in the message, okay? Don't worry, we don't have to write multiple paragraphs. There's a great topic of like corporate emails where you have to figure out the phrasing to be bulletproof in terms of people deny it later or people misunderstand it in the first place or whatever, but let's not worry about that. Let's just say I want to put the email in there just to show that we've got it, and then we'll have a tiny message. Now, one of the cool things about Python, and this is actually true of other languages like C, is that if you just put a couple strings next to each other, they'll automatically combine. Okay, they'll automatically, the word is concatenate. So what I'm going to do is just put a couple strings right next to each other. And I'm going to say to student.parent.email. See, we're going deeper. The student has a parent which has an email. And technically, it's not inside. You know, the student just has a reference to a parent, which is a separate thing. But it feels like it's inside of the thing, which is inside of the thing. And so if I close that and then I do another string, they'll just magically combine, okay? Let me do one more just to show you. You know, Chromebook collection was today and blah, blah, blah. So by putting these in parentheses, if I made the right quotes and everything, I didn't make any typos, these strings will just automatically combine, which is kind of nice. Let's try it. 641012. Hey, look at that. They did combine, but I don't want them to be that squished. I want them to have a line break in between. So I'm going to put our classic \n character, the line break, which, by the way, you could get with one giant string. If you do the triple quotes allows you to make a multi-line string, and you can even combine it with an F string. At least you can in the newest version of Python. I don't know if it would work on here. But it gets a little hard to handle, and sometimes the indenting looks weird. I'm just going to do separate lines. Let's try it one more time. Beautiful. So this is what the email would be, and it's got our info. It puts it all together. This looks like the kind of thing you get, if you get an email from Target because they know you recently bought a refrigerator or something. They'll send you an email with some specific recommendations, maybe plug in your name. I don't think Target sells refrigerators. I don't know why I said that. And this is how we do it. We use this, they call it interpolation, to put in the data. So what did we add today? A little function that just returns a string, and then we use it. That's all for now. We could do a main function and then something to handle this, parsing of the data. We could have the input come from somewhere else. Maybe you just load up a list of numbers to look each one up. Or maybe at the end we write all these emails to a file and then read that into some other thing. But this is a great start. And for us, it's a great finish because this is all we're doing in the project this quarter.